Alex Answer here, November 6th, 2018, coming to you from Off the Grid. It is 6:30 in the morning. I want to show you this headline: 40 things people over 40 need to stop blaming millennials for. You know, it's interesting to actually see this headline because I was just discussing this in an actual video, and there's often times in which I'm picking up on something that's happening already in the collective, where I'm discussing things and things seem to manifest later that, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, are in line with some of my concerns. So the banker bailouts, the foreign wars, many other things, cell phone consumption. We may see many millennials animated like zombies themselves, but it's because they were taught that. And there are also people that like to point their finger at millennials without showing the fact or showing any evidence that they themselves have any compassion for others. That many people haven't shown that they're any different. And it's become a world that has normalized pointing the finger. And it's a world in which I talked about yesterday in a longer video how different types of groups will actually come against people with original thought while misidentifying them to be some sort of an enemy, while misidentifying those people with original thought as coming against them, or sounding like, in their mind, falsely, their political or other ideological or other perceived enemy. Illusions of separation. So, from a spiritual perspective, I believe that we are here for a reason. And I've said for years throughout my videos, we're going to go back to reading the article in a minute, that there is a karmic connection between past generations, current, and future, that we're all tied together. And I've always felt this. And I've never used other spiritual texts to give me that inspiration, but I found other spiritual texts that are mirroring some of the same things that I've been saying to you for years. Even before, for example, I even heard the word Gnostic. When I read, for example, out of books like that, some of the language is a little rough, and the way that I explain things, speaking off the top of my mind, it flows a little bit better. But over the course of the winter, I'm actually going to get serious about looking at some of this literature that I've avoided for years. I've just been speaking my own truth, but I'm starting to see a lot of parallels. I'm starting to, and where I have hope, for example, is in regards to what real consciousness is and how it expresses itself in this world. And I'm always on the lookout for expressions of that. And there's a lot of ways in which even baby boomers, I noticed, were blamed. Before the millennials, do you notice this? Do you remember this? Do any of you remember this like I? Remember, this comes up a lot, the idea of having a memory, not just over political cycles and political manias, but also previous scapegoats like baby boomers. And the big strain also of the baby boomers on the Social Security and this and that. And I was noticing that a few years ago and rolling my eyes. There's always a scapegoat for either the economic woes or not enough people working. It's like, or not enough people having kids. The system is based on certain dynamics that the people don't really understand. So it has particular obsessions on certain things that are ass backwards. Let's take a look at this article. Let's read a little bit as we enjoy our early morning coffee. 40 things people over 40 need to stop, not start, need to stop blaming millennials for, also stop blaming the senior citizens, stop blaming this group, start taking responsibility for your own happiness, and realize that there is no one that is coming specifically to take away your happiness and to take away your freedom. A lot of people do that to themselves, and a lot of people have a very limited understanding of what freedom is. A lot of them haven't experienced the spiritual, intellectual, energetic freedom, and they think it may come from fighting in the streets. It's ass backwards. Let's read. 40 things people over 40 need to stop blaming millennials for. Everywhere you look, people over 40 are blaming millennials for all of the bad things happening in the country. Another restaurant is going out of business. It's because millennials don't eat out anymore. The diamond industry isn't doing well. That's because Generation Y isn't splurging on fine jewelry. It's not the same type of romantic society. There's also gender warfare going on that is unnatural. We've been pitted against each other. If you're a man that's in touch with his feminine self, and you're talking about the male-female dynamic from a position of care, you can still be demonized wrongfully as a misogynist for discussing the unmindful relationships that people are having today, because many people, especially my generation, I guess I'm the oldest of the millennials, you want to talk about a bad example? You want to talk about like people literally being born into the generation of the heartache or the heartbreak? I'm bringing on the heartbreak, yeah. Maybe a little bit of hysteria thrown on that. Oh man, I've talked about in previous videos, just quick summary. A lot of pop culture has really taught codependency wasn't so much the word I was going for, but the heartbreak, the simulated heartbreak. And a lot of people learn about, that sense of, abandonment and loss even before their first actual heartbreak. And, I don't want to get too personal in this video, right? But there's definitely a lot of pain that's been dished out to millennials and also those older. And we also didn't grow up in the wild era of the 70s and 80s where there were certain types of actual freedom where people also got away with a lot more. But those were sexier, more romantic times. Those were different types of ballads, for example. We're a long way from being up where we belong. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that doesn't exist in our world. And Alex Hansery may be one of the few to, because I do appreciate the idea of romance, but I could see pop culture with its themes of the romantic songs, but also the heartbreak era. And there was also some definite energetic tides. This isn't exactly just some conspiracy per se. Not exactly. I think a lot of this may have been reflective of the deeper energies, the times in which Fleetwood Mac, they were together, and then the times in which they broke up and they were writing songs about it. Then all of a sudden they were in the 90s, then there was the Coke wave, and then there was the recovery wave. And I've even talked about various things that I've noticed out of Portland's late 90s moving into 2000s and noticing like a polarity of energies during a period in which more people were very affected by their emotions and it expressed in itself in other ways. And other periods in which people are a little less affected by their emotions. Ultimately, then we'll go back to the article. And the cat's outside meowing, it can just wait. The ultimate truth is, you want to go outside so bad, it'll just be a minute. But the ultimate truth is that we have a different society now that is not encouraging love and romance and healing between the masculine and feminine, the men and the women. There are people, as I said yesterday in the longer video, that will take something out of context in a video when they know someone means well. But there'll be a mean spirit wherever this consciousness comes from. That's where we look at other spiritual texts and perspectives. Where does this consciousness come from that wants to isolate? And going deeper, we also have a reality to where we don't even have elements around government, communities, counties, in a lot of different ways, building the communities and bridging that gap between people. We still have people relying on the mental health professionals and their particular understanding. And it's basically based in a perception or philosophy or psychology of attempting to fix someone that's been broken instead of actually deal with the healing aspects, that person learning to heal from within, not being reliant on pharmaceutical drugs, and not seeing themselves as broken or being born that way, but understanding that, it is our nature to be a part of something. And so a lot of the tribes today, I think, are based on the illusions of separation, but you can also take a look at Portland or other major cities. I talk about Portland because I'm from there and I fled there. You can have people that are diverse on a physical level that are part of the same tribe, but it may be like a political collective hive. To where there's the same type of social peer pressure. The people may be physically different, but the ideology or the doctrine may be like borderline or straight up tyrannical, whether they are in a box of left and right or not even as clearly defined as left or right, but just more members of the AMericult building really some sort of a cult out of a community And see, we're really missing communities of independent thinkers, and we don't have people that are making decisions on large scales that I've been able to see. It cuts deep, but I'm not getting specific or attacking anyone. There are people that seem to be in positions of power on various levels within our society that aren't really trying to help the people and will act in a way to gatekeep. This is something that could be said about various areas, regions, and it is looking at both male and female, both men and women, not just one particular gender, but also realizing that there are ways in which it seems that the men and women are pitted against each other in the workplace. And they will argue also about who makes more with regards to CEOs, while other humans and men and women are left behind from even getting close to jobs like that. So sometimes we see, this is just a joke here. Here's Money Magazine, by the way. Maybe we could find something to laugh at in here. They literally tell you to go to Portland in this. Portland's number 10 if you're a rich, older person. Okay, so how many people, millennials, are in a state of mind of having children? And I'm not saying I'm pro or against. I'm not personally interested in having a child, but I don't think that we should be judging everybody else. I think there's a lot of mean people out there. In general, though, millennials do not, especially the younger ones, see a future for them. And I never also grew up with the types of things going on now and cyberbullying, although it happens to those of us that are on YouTube. But I mean, imagine yourself a child. Imagine like things happening, someone like filming, someone beats you up or sexually assaults you, or things that people like actually do in the physical world where they don't have a computer screen to divide us. And then people do that and they film it, and then that's all over the internet. And there's school kids. I mean, we read about this every day. More so with this state of Colorado being 3 times the national average for people. They don't have community peers here in Colorado showing them the light. I can testify to you to that. And no one's written about it. They don't have any goodness on an overt level, on a community level, that really brings the people together and crosses all the different illusions of separation. People literally live in camps here. Certain Hispanic families, other locals, Native American tribes, people literally are down to there. And then for people that are not a part of anything, then they find out what true isolation actually is. That doesn't mean that one can't overcome that. I'm in somewhat of a social experiment that's ongoing. That's been ongoing for a couple of years now. The body does hurt physically, ongoing all the time from that loneliness. But it doesn't mean that we can't be strong enough to override that pain or to keep going. It's not how hard we hit necessarily, it's how hard we can get hit and keep moving forward. And do you think that millennials today or younger people are given the tools? They're hated and scorned. And imagine yourself a college kid. Welcome to the image of the new devil of the world. It's the college kid that learns stuff. Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. Like, last couple of years of the rhetoric, like if someone just isn't on board a political agenda, they want free stuff. And what, you guys want to like completely bomb the world till there's nothing left? No, stereotypes don't work wholesale. There may be people that believe a particular way, right? But these talking points that people have, and notice how both on the left and the right will call the other group the Nazis. But that's pretty serious stuff. The actual type of Nazi-like behavior that we could see from the military-industrial complex, removing millions off the planet and doing it in a bipartisan manner. And then so for both to be saying, hey, we have this Nazi problem, but to not identify where its most obvious appearance in our world actually happens to be. And then that would be the ownership of multiple world governments, mind you, where an agenda is carried out while they fool the world that they're at war, that there actually is opposition to what the U.S. is doing in Afghanistan and Iraq. That's the devil's biggest trick, not to mention Libya. Hence we mentioned Syria, as in reality we see perceived enemies, Russia and the United States, working together to destroy an ancient land where ancient spiritual texts ironically derived from. Try explaining that, though, to the modern person that's going to demonize all of those people from that region. Try explaining to them that these are regions to where there was information left behind thousands of years ago, and it just happens to be a coincidence of the demons of this world running these governments are massacring those people on the modern Aztec sacrifice. You heard it here first, and in some cases, you only heard it here. Don't you ever forget that. There will be people coming later on in a couple years going, oh my God, this stuff was actually wrong. Alex Ansary wasn't so crazy. Are they doing that because they actually care then in the year 2023 or 2024? Or are they doing so because they will be afraid of what seems to be the inevitable as the tanks roll in? Where is the compassion to be found now in 2018? And seeing the millennials see this, one of the things that's concerned me about the millennials and their mental health and their ability to be super soldiered as they turn the girls into whores and sex workers, turn the males into super soldiers through the pornography and the video games, and where they bridge together. And where they bridge together, again, when I was at a certain age, the internet really wasn't around at the level that it is now, although by teenage years, yes. But then some of you that are older than I, that grew up in the 70s and 80s, you can imagine a period in which people met naturally. And the world wasn't constantly filled with there was the threat of war back then, even in the 70s and 80s, but this is a whole nother ordeal. Now we have like levels of cloak and dagger, spy versus spy, the surveillance society. We have technologies where foreign governments could be looking in, and our government interferes with other elections and back and forth, and they use that right now as cannon fodder for a global conflict. People that grew up in the 70s and 80s, sure, they're apocalyptic movies. It's a big difference between Mad Max and Halo. Don't even try to argue against that. When you start to see like the Halo, Call of Duty, Fallen world that they actually paint into video games and other things, adult entertainment, then you can realize that the people of today's world are being brainwashed in the death culture to see no future and have no future, and to not even believe in preparing, and to even go along with the civil unrest scenario where people are divided and there's gender warfare. You know, I lived in Portland, Oregon, though I didn't grow up in my younger years there, and there was literally, I remember 2010, 2011, like a kinky fetish, an increase in zombie art, zombie apocalypse art. One day a woman actually walked by and it looked like a woman was being sexually assaulted by a monster on the artwork that was on her t-shirt. Like it was really, and I noticed in some of my, again, involvements, and why I decided to go off grid and stop doing what I was doing, looking for love in all the wrong places, and to go deeper into my truth. Because I realized what I was not what people were looking for. And if someone's looking for something physical, that's all they're looking for. It's not tied to this platform and this information. And so I wasn't able to, but I learned a little bit more about human psychology from that. There's the material world, which I talked about, read about yesterday, and there's the idea of something higher, or our true selves. And so a lot of people are going to be resistant to hearing that there's something better than this, that we're better than this, that we're better than this. And a lot of people don't want to hear the truth as it is, that life hasn't always been just like this. That's an excuse. And when some people say, well, that's just human nature, they're actually making an excuse for our lower selves that we should be willing to try to triumph and stand above our lower selves, for our higher selves to be in the driver's seat. For us not just to be run around like a bunch of, no offense to monkeys, but monkeys without self-control. Let's see if there's anything interesting that we can get also into this discussion from the article. So I covered that pretty clearly. And there's other things that they do to show or give a false projection that the world's coming together. And what I noticed, without getting too specific, but I think you're getting my, I think you're getting the idea, that they show certain types of people coming together that look different. And then people view, exactly, people view certain depictions in the media as a false depiction. Now, people can look at the media and mimic what they see in the media, because the media can literally influence what is attractive and what is destined to be left behind and never remembered. Now, underneath that, there's a deeper truth, and I just don't want to go there right now. But the media can also project to women those people that are undesirable in this world. Those that are desirable at the moment, and they paint it in cartoons, and then it aggravates an element of the population going, what is this? What are we seeing? And then someone else in the MGTOW arena can give their perspective on what women want and what women are turned on by. But the greater reality is it's more complex than that which they understand. We need to hear also from someone else's perspective. Maybe someone like myself that could say, well, when I was living in Portland, and there was some dating during the earlier years, but when the civil unrest and the latest political cycle, and including the gender warfare and a lot of these, it was really after like 2012 and 2013 and 2014, even though I was the same person, there was a greater sense of disconnect. I don't want to go too deeper into this, but just the idea of randomly hooking up just for sex no longer felt, and that was not necessarily the goal in a fallen world where love and romance is taboo and just going from person to person is the norm. That's not something that a man may actually voluntarily want, but just something that the world is going, well, this is the new world now. We're in the new world order, anti-family, fear of commitment, abandonment issues, and then maybe other things that are programmed into today's human to go, nope, there's no way I could like someone like that. And what I'm saying is, we're going to get back, I guess, to the overall millennial thing, right? We, men and women today, and that includes baby boomers, not just millennials, they are infected by the boob tube. They are infected by the media, tampering with their relationships. And then once there's different types of relationships and people being born, the same larger media can actually demonize that. So they can promote it and demonize it at the same time, because ultimately, and you know where I'm going with this, I'm saying that the world is basically run by evil, that there is a supreme being, and he may have his servants and angels, true angels. We may have our true guides as opposed to false guides, but I do believe that there is a false God, not a true God, but something that's worshipped as the God of this world. And that worship by the humans, the blind worship, gives it its power, along with the fear and the sacrifice. And I say to you on a regular basis, and I'm one of the few, you know that. You don't hear this from Maxwell, you don't hear this from Ike, but they know better. From all their past work in the 90s and 2000s, yes, what's happening now is some sort of a blood ritual sacrifice overseas. And then they created the immigration crisis in Europe so they can create the psychology in the masses that, well, maybe it's okay, maybe it's necessary, maybe a new one is needed. Like, we really need to finish the job. When the Muslims and the immigrants aren't the ones controlling immigration or dropping the, the bombs on their land that's causing them to flee. I mean, it's just basic mathematics. So you don't, have to be super intelligent or spiritual to look at almost like the law of basics, of attraction, cause and effect. Cause and effect. So let's go back to the millennials. They're literally, right, growing up in the day and age of bombs dropping into a certain amount of the millennials. Talk about why that concerns me even deeper. It's the idea of them being used to carry out the next level of the calling of the depopulation agenda. I think that's what we've seen. Think about all those children that were born when 9/11 happened and the trauma impact of those people did that to their tribe can literally come out of the ashes of that in anti-themism, to where people literally, they have their identity wearing the U.S. uniform and going overseas, especially when that's the only time which people of various ethnicities that are U.S. citizens actually work together, when they're stomping on the face of the foreign world. Think about the black woman. Think about other minorities working together, wearing the uniform, standing in line. How sad is that? How sick is that? That if we want to come together and experience that sense of communion amongst people that are different, have a conversation that the one thing that unites them is being paid off to stomp on the face of the Middle East. How does this actually improve things? Or does this actually take us way back into the dark ages with regards to race relations? Look at how fake things kind of were in the last few decades. And then when 9/11 happened, it kind of, it took the weight off a lot of people that were black in this nation. As one person said to me at Cable Access in Portland, Oregon, when 9/11 happened, we looked at the direction of the Arab world and said, those are the new inward. Those are the new inward. Those people are the new inward. And since that time, I have seen that come to fruition. To where in the hierarchy of the value of races, the people over there are the bottom of all the hierarchy of all the perceived false world. Now think about a V underneath or a pyramid. False truths. It's not a real heaven and earth coming together. It's more an inversion. People will see like turn the pyramid upside down, like that bookstore in Austin, Brave New Books it was. They had this thing about turn the pyramid upside down. Well, yeah, but even the V itself, it's more than just turn the pyramid upside down, folks, and just little catchphrases and symbols. No, it's not a symbol that's going to save us. If anything, that symbol pointing downward, that V, represents on the false hierarchy of the illusion of separation, the people that see themselves higher, and then those under them, and those they used to put down there, but because of 9/11, they switched it over here and went, now we're bringing you up. And then you got this, and we'll have the illusion of equality and the illusions of women's rights while all these human atrocities take place over here. And if you criticize it, you can even have feminists, alt-right guys, and others that don't have that heartfelt compassion for what's happening to other humans and other women that are not necessarily U.S. citizens. You see, when it really comes down to it, we have a lack of compassion, and like a cancer, it's already absorbing this world. This world's on our way out. You are surrounded by false idols, false gods, false deities, false teachers, telling you that somehow we're moving forward. They are lying to you and themselves, sadly, each and every day. At the very least, right? Picture yourself on the Titanic. Maybe there's a pretty girl over there. Never talked to her before. Maybe she was checking you out. Doesn't matter what class you're in anymore. Peasantry, upper, you're in this together. It's the story of the Titanic. And then romance coming about from the common experience of survival. Survival. We will have to survive, but spiritually. Right now, we need to survive spiritually. You need to survive the undertow. Most people out there are not able to survive the undertow. If people are not already actively interested in a spiritual practice to protect their energy, they are being taken over by the undertow, which includes just becoming addicted to conspiracy content without realizing what the conspiracy actually is, by being blinded by the light to the point where you actually don't see the street signs anymore. You don't see the signs anymore because you're blinded by the light. Like a deer caught in the headlights going, what is that? What is that? That's a car coming at you. Get out of the road. Seriously, get out of the road. Pulled by the ear. Get out of the road. Spank, spank. Don't have any children, but there was a time in which I had to be pulled out of the road. So there's a time to pull society out of the road. It's time to say, out of the pool, out of the pool. Stop running with scissors. Please, stop running with scissors. Put your titties back in your shirt. Stop with the pole dancing. Stop with the super soldier simulation. Take accountability for what your own society is as a collective. Stop pointing across the world and saying those are the ones that brought you all this misery. Really? They brought you the video games. They brought you the TV. They brought you the mind control. They brought you MTV. No, what they want to do is kind of merge things and say that the satanic agenda is working through them. How disrespectful. How blasphemous. How hateful. So the ultimate truth that needs to be shared is the thoughts that people are projecting, right? They need to be purified. I look at things that I need to change in a certain time period, and we go into November, in the first part of November, and there's certain things that I feel called to focus on right now at this hour. I don't feel called to focus on everything that's in the news. But if I can see something that's in the news that kind of goes along with that theme of what I'm talking about, I can show you how elements of society is trying to reach its own gnosis or truth. It's a word for truth, their own wisdom. And there are people that are slowly getting this. They haven't come to full circle acknowledgement because so much of that tube has been personified with anti-themism and bringing together different people that used to have strife amongst themselves, bringing them together in the bloodbath under the guise of working things out. It actually just sets us back. And this will be shown over time. But that's actually why they can so easily divide you, even amongst your own tribe or ethnicity, amongst left or right, to where you see people saying so horrible things, such horrible things about each other now that you never saw people saying about each other before. And again, calling the other group Nazi, while not actually documenting the actual things that are in line with a Nazi-like military that's calling people by the millions. See, there's an argument for that. And there could actually be conferences as to what's happening here with people on the left and the right. There could be Shank versus Tucker Carlson. And if they actually gave a damn, they could be discussing those issues, but they don't. And this would probably be a good time to say that I denounce and condemn the Young Turks in a more overt way, in the same way that I condemn info whores. Because I've noticed that they've done some good things, but they actually are part of that same bully side. The Young Turks, especially that guy that hosts the Damage Report, he's the biggest piece of shit that they have. Just so I'm clear with you. There are men and women that have been damaged by the society, and so people have turned to social media to share about their issues, and unfortunately they can get pulled into a box. Heaven forbid they make a mistake and allow a box or to speak to people within a box of MGTOW, when really my relationship advice and perspectives and experience comes from my journey as an activist doing things that other people don't even talk about or care about in MGTOW. And I think most of you know that. The caliber of this channel, the types of interviews, the things that I've done for years, it was more or less saying that what I learned in my life that was doing those things aren't valued by the opposite sex in a real world sense, only in a virtual internet, oh, maybe I'll watch this guy's channel sense, which is fine. I want to educate people, but it's important that people understand why the world is fallen, that why nice guys finish last, and that it's more based on looking at the species being fallen, more so than a gender. That would be criticizing then men as well. Criticizing then male behavior, and the majority of male behavior that's serving the dominator system. So from that perspective, we're criticizing consensus reality of the species of humans. Other people want to try and twist things and say it's not that. It's targeting particular groups. We're talking about how we're actually stepping back from the hive mind, and they want to invert that. The Damage Report talked about the rise of the incel attack. So if someone's put in the box of lonely male, they're put in the box of dangerous male. This is what they're telling the women now through the mass media, through the Young Turks, through the Damage Report, and the controlled left on that side, what I was alluding to yesterday. So they're like, and that's messed up if he was posting stuff, but those would be also the same type of people that would probably be trolling me, people like him, a lot of people that are in the news. So they don't distinguish between the diverse organic thought with regards to relationships or sharing from the heart. There's like a war on mental health and for us to share. So I'm quantifying for those of you that are in the angry mindset, how and why the angry mindset obsessive viewer can be in lockstep with the mainstream media, even if they're on opposed political ideologies. Look at the bullying mentality of bullying someone that is actually going to share their views, organic and original. Look at how it invokes this sense of vengeance from various religious, political, and gender warfare-based ideologies. Do you understand this? So if people start sharing, well, this is why I'm doing certain things, and I'm not spending my time like other people, and then people could be watching that, women could be watching that, and maybe if there's a decent channel with women sharing from their perspective relationships, and there are some women that have done some decent relationship-related videos. I have my own interest with things that I like to hear that no one else is talking about, but there are some videos out there. They're not anti-women. They're sharing from their perspective. Yeah, a lot of these things that these guys are talking about with people using each other over money and certain things, it's absolutely legitimate. They're not involved in a conspiracy. They're not threatening. Those women aren't threatening to other women. So why would certain men that are sharing their truth about how this world's broken their heart, why would that be remodified and repackaged as something that's a threat to others? This is how I'm quantifying the statement that there is a war on mental health and people sharing from the heart. And so bringing this back down to where I was starting at the earlier part of the day, there's a lot this system, because it already collects your tax dollars. So let's just get over hardcore libertarian views of no tax dollars for anything. I'm saying there already is tax dollars being spent to staff countless amount of people in this nation to supposedly help others. And I'm saying, and I'm generalizing, a lot of people in this nation because of society, not because of gender, not because of race, but because of this society. This includes even minority men that may even be in some positions of power. Ooh, I've got the power now. I've got the power. There are way too many people in positions of power, various genders and ethnicities within our culture that don't actually care about others. They care about pushing paperwork. And they're a part of this fiscal, all this money being flushed down the toilet. And because there is this resentment towards those of us that have the intelligence left to form an original thought, there are ways in which this world can exile us from even the crappiest jobs, because we radiate truth, and that truth to others can be perceived as toxic. It is way more easier for someone to work a gas station job or a fast food job if they never go down this particular path. A dishwasher will make 4 times what I make doing this on YouTube. Then why do I continue to do this more than other things? Because this is where I'm needed. This is the information that reaches the world. No one remembers me for the other things. And there is no easy way out when your soul has been tasked. From even before the moment in which you were born, there was a destiny attached to your outcome. And whether you would go in a particular direction or not go in a different direction, your life is more than animalism. It is more than butt sniffing. It is more than fornicating. It is more than defecating and figuring out what you and your significant other themselves and your children are going to eat tonight. There's way more in the totality of what we are doing here on earth, and even why we even have a certain type of family members that we had. Oh, damn. You want to talk about like a rotation of souls going, you guys got a war going on. Guess who's dad? I mean, there is absolute speculation with regards to how we get set up with our actual dads and moms. Like, whoa, certain people are assigned to us to be the first people to actually traumatize us and nearly break us. Then we have to go through a period of putting the pieces together. And if we go down the wrong directions in this world, trying to get help from the wrong people, they may use the knowledge that they have to really put the clamp down and then go for the break. See, what you don't want to do when you have a sprained arm is go to some thug in the street who's looking to hurt someone, asking that person for a healing. Or on the internet. They may take that arm and in some form of dark jujitsu with some like islander martial arts, do a break on you and then laugh. Or they watch you cry in the streets. That's hardcore psychotic behavior. And with the way people are treating people that speak their truth online, it's matching that type of energetic frequency. Same thing to where I share tears and someone uploaded that 10 times at one point to create that sense of people may come against this guy later. Let's try to make it easy for them that are looking for a victim or looking for someone to harm, even though that's not a core expression of mine on this channel. But there are periods in which I haven't been afraid to share my humanity. And I've never tried to say, well, I'm with this corporation and I'm with this big host over here and I'm this. It's like, I'm actually in this alone. And a lot of people thought 10 years ago that I wouldn't even make it this far. People would speculate 10 years ago that I would be murdered by the government because I was doing this early on and there weren't a lot of us. Now you know there's a lot of us. Now people don't talk like that anymore. Now people just target people that don't think just like them, and all this has become some sort of mind war, psychic war, MMA, blood fight of the consciousness. This is it. The world is fallen. And we're trying to like hold on to what humanity of us is left. There doesn't need to be a microchip implanted in you for you to be already so infected by the hate to where you're gone. Just like someone could be gone after being implanted by a microchip and then have that central tower beamed into them. You can have that same information beamed into you through your own darkness, through your own malice for others. You can literally send off a vibrational frequency that's a match for the parasites that are looking for a host. So the real alien invasion right now is happening with human hosts. The YouTube channels that talk about narcissists not even being human are being disrespectful. Now they're actually making sci-fi out of it. No, they're not human. They're human with some other type of darkness shining through them. They could even get themselves to a greater state of spiritual health if that information was out there in large numbers. Instead, we even have an anti-narcissist movement to where they're being called non-humans by people that are angry, having breakdowns on the internet. They're human. Some of them know better. Some of them are doing it because they've been hurt by this world. They've been traumatized. Some people that have been traumatized may still be traumatized, but they care about others. And they care about what will happen to others that had things happen to them. Others that have been traumatized will seek to do to others what was done to them. Now, there's a difference. There is a really big difference between the person that's been traumatized by the world and wants to help others, especially others in the future that may be like them, deal with the trauma and attack. That's where I come from. Others may go out and hurt someone. We know what the world does. You know what the media does? They ignore those of us that care about others that have been traumatized or will be traumatized. They want to focus only on those humans that they can demonize for some agenda to bully, side, and demonize everyone. Now, does this seem like normal to you? Does it seem like a consciousness that's organically from an average man or woman? If all the men are under subjection and all the women are under subjection, long-term, how do any men and women profit from that? And where are anyone else, for example, speaking about the things that I'm speaking of with you? Okay. Don't forget how rare this commentary is and how I'm one of the few and how I need your support. There's been very light support lately. Check out the links down below. Sign up on Patreon. Help me change this dramatically. I'd like to tell you, again, my goal is to be able to move beyond this fallen part of Colorado and find somewhere cheap where I can rent for a few $100 a month somewhere else. We'll get back on topic. If I was to have the means to dramatically improve my life, I want to move to where there is more interaction between myself and people. And that would be going somewhere in Colorado. Maybe you can give me some tips to where the rent is still really cheap and I can get like a room as low as $300 or $400 a month. But, there's a time where I need to step away from the world, and there's a time where I need to see more life. And there's a time where we need to be aware enough to realize that some of our environments can turn into energetic dead zones to where there is no form of life or consciousness or higher energy. And there is nothing but heartbreak and people that will smash us to bits when we're vulnerable. Following up on a statement that I made yesterday, I said that I get a lot of unusual emails. And just because I do videos about the archons and things, I am not a 1-900 number to where I do free consultations. And so people seem unaware that not only is there a lack of volunteers and support, including financial, but thank those of you that do, there's a lot of strain that some people try to, they want me to clear out the attacks that are upon their person by whatever demons is one that comes up a lot. And if this is something that people really are looking to me as if I have some knowledge, how can people do more than just ask for me to get on the phone with them? And why me? Why not others? What is it about me that they're seeking? What is it that I would have? What knowledge do I have to help the woman that's having this type of, and she said, well, maybe I should just delete my comment because the comment on your YouTube channel seems to be provoking the spiritual attack. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen this thousands of times. My audience doesn't even understand it. But when women leave comments on the YouTube, they don't understand the paranormal. And there's a lot that's tried to isolate me from others hearing my truth. And then people get attracted to the truth. If they overall have a dark side, they can be turned on me. They can be turned on me if they're lower enough. And certain times and eclipses, like last year around September, are certain flash pans, points in the pan, flashes in the pan in the timeline, to where certain people will check out and something else will check in. It doesn't happen every day, but it led me to be alarmed that if the hand of protection is removed, some people can be so overtaken that they will think in their mind that they actually have to do something really bad to someone. just to see them squirm. Kind of like torturing a small animal, or torturing kind of like with a microscope and trying to burn the ants, like something that little kids for some reason seem to do by nature, which is kind of odd. Kind of odd. That would be kind of built in even into the human nature that little kids would be doing that. I don't know if that's just universal. Until, of course, those human children are told, no, don't do that. Don't be total barbarian. Don't be total killer. No good. No. Oh, it's okay when it's done for the military. Then we celebrate you, but only in controlled forms. Only in controlled forms, little Johnny. Only in controlled forms when we call you hero and we call you our son as the stars and don't you understand? Like, we live in kind of a cannibal hell. Even if they're not eating those people, they might as well be. They might as well be. And this society will deny every step of the way that something wrong is taking place. They will think that the people saying that something wrong is taking place are the people that ruined their day and breakfast. And they won't acknowledge that what I do is not coming to you into your living rooms. You come looking for this information. You clicked on this. There's hardly anybody on the newsletter. What's the point of even sending it out? So the ultimate truth needs to be shared by all of us with regards to true community and humans that have a sense of unconditional love for each other, not in a romantic sense, but a deeper sense, especially if you're an American and you truly believe in freedom and you truly claim that you're not with the illusions of separation or just straight up racism of any particular group, then there actually shouldn't be an issue with certain levels of community coming to fruition. Shouldn't be an issue. Shouldn't be an issue. Shouldn't be an issue at all. Should not be an issue at all. We can move forward from here. All right, let's set it up next week. We're all getting together, right? We're all part of it. Yep, moving forward now, right? Oh, we're going beyond the illusion of separation, going beyond addiction to sex, going beyond addiction to money, going beyond addiction to, working at certain places and certain types of security, living in the grid. Yep, we're free now. We're free. We're above now the tribal scene. I'm just a little bit of light humor. But on your path to freedom, and some of you are there on a certain level. You and or your significant other and your family, you're there on a level and you're there where you need to be. And I congratulate you. Others, they're looking for signs as to where to start on the yellow brick road. It's not about a particular book. It's about a mindset. It's within. That shift, that lifestyle shift, tapping into that power. I understand there's some strong astrological new moon influences also. I'm not sure the specifics. Maybe I'm tapping into that as well. Who knows? But there is a strong sense right now at this moment of recording of moving forward momentum. And even if we are a community of one, forward momentum with the truth that we speak. For I create truth and videos, and some videos are created in private at the link down below, members only area. Because the future generations need to know what happened here. The people that are alive today are so insane that they will take out people with truth. They're moving more in that direction than we were in the past. We're moving back into the dark ages. The 2020s are going to be littered with bodies. The people of this day and age were so ignorant they couldn't even see what was coming in 2 to 3 years from their own people and tribe. It wouldn't even require a different ethnicity. Their own people would harm them. And so we're about to see something come up in the next couple of years. Americans versus Americans. With technology being controlled by the same forces, right? Orchestrating the show. And the whole thing would be about preventing community, right? Someone would be called anti-this or pro-this if they were to speak to people's consciousness and encourage them to be compassionate. They would be called libtard. They would be called anti-white for criticizing white supremacy, which is not a criticism of all white people. It's almost as if those people that are invested in the illusions of separation themselves are the real attack on white people by trying to marginalize the rest of the tribe as being like them as they foam at their mouth with the N word and the B word and all of these different things. None of it's okay. None of it's okay. We do not have even from those supposed left-based societies, progressive, that are against the right or against Trump, where are they building bridges and starting conversations about people? They themselves will marginalize someone like myself as right-wing for not agreeing with their primary talking points, for bringing up things like 911. I will forever be cast out of them even saying, no, stop. Don't sacrifice that body. That's a good man. Alex Ansary is a good man. You will not hear that from the left. Why would I not reach a conclusion by nearly the age of 40 that we are dealing with a fallen consciousness that rules over the political systems and the religious systems? We're like gangs. We're expected to join a religion of any of them to reap the benefits of protection. In a big way, joining religions is like whether or not you're actually going to ask for permission from the Don. Now, if you don't hire the Don for protection and give him his protection money, the Don and his henchmen may not protect your shop. In old Italy. So those of us that ride in the box of other, which includes outside of all religions, which includes not having the protection of those religious tribes, we ride alone. The question here in the end, am I here to serve you as a YouTube viewer, or am I here to serve a higher agenda? To speak to people through YouTube, but to speak a deeper truth that the people clearly of this world today do not understand and do not support in large numbers. Am I going to let that stop me? Or am I going to let that motivate me? Let there be a purge of those audience members that don't want to hear this truth, and let there be a welcoming to those that have been looking for this truth for most of their lives, but they've been let down by others. And others have buckled under their system. Sometimes people delete their channels. Sometimes people delete themselves on the internet. When I'm in this for life, while the Spirit is going to be animating this human form, while it's a permanent record, might as well make things clear. Okay, so as we look towards these images for maybe any other bits of inspiration, I mean, really, what can be said about some of these? The media will constantly, it's trying so hard to show you that it's loving to people from different parts of the world, but notice there are the people that are left out of the picture. They do keep projecting certain things over and over, while some of us in the other category are recognized and remembered by no one. And again, then the people on the far right, as their recruiting numbers go up, they look at certain things in the mainstream. They say, see. It's like, no, they're actually just trying to make you angry and show you someone's with someone else. So you act on that. And so those people that feel that they are being elevated, they also see themselves better. They're better now. They're even, in their eyes, in some cases, taught that they're superior, even superior to the people overseas. I have faced discrimination from people that are black. I have been, I've told stories in the past about the percentages of assaults and the demographics, and it's been almost higher on that end. I can tell you that as someone that doesn't want to see people marginalized and victims of racism, they are teaching people within our society that, well, you're coming up in the world, but you're doing so as others are suppressed below you. And that's a great way to describe the false feminism and the false rights of others. They're doing so on behalf of others being buried underneath them. And you can find certain demographics of humans by gender and ethnicity that are viewed down upon by all the other groups that the mainstream is really holding up. So I would definitely recommend a spiritual path that relates to going beyond the illusions of separation and realizing really here that a lot of us are in this together.